life. Got a call for a drunk in somebody's trunk. Rig life, rig life, rig life, rig life. Got a call to the mall, dead guy in the stall. Rig life, rig life, rig life, a rig life. Got a call for a break and it turned out to be fake. Rig life, rig life, a rig life, a rig life. Got to drive really fast and it was a blast. Rig life, rig life, rig life, rig life. Showed up to the scene and they asked us to stop singing this damn song. Rig life, rig life. You know that.
Hey, Erica.
Hey, Karen.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's been a good day.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
A beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Would you be my
neighbor?
Could you be mine? Make it all sexy.
See, yeah, we could.
It's a red light district one. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. For $5, you know I would. I said, yeah, baby. I said, yeah, baby.
It sounds like a rap now.
Oh, it's still good, I think.
It was good, yeah.
Okay, well, sorry, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, sorry, we...
Wasn't there an SNL skit where it was called Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood and Eddie Murphy did it?
I don't remember.
It was really good.
We'll have to look it up.
Okay, well, let's start today's show. Let's try not to go off topic too much. Because I think Erica came up with the best. Well, you come up with amazing ideas all the time.
I mean, I try.
But this show is yours. And I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy it with you.
Well, I figured actually today we would read some other paramedic stories from around the world. There's some really funny stories I came up. I actually found on this website. So these are from paramedics all around the world. I think we should go back and forth and read some of these funny stories.
I think it's fantastic. And then we can see if we can relate to them in any way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not myself as a paramedic, obviously, but maybe a patient that's come in.
Yeah, because just this one, this guy, Anthony, his name's Anthony Ricci. And he said... It's actually really funny. So we were called to Loma Linda University Medical Center to pick up a 5150 psych patient. I'll call Bob. We were to take him to a behavioral health unit. It was the sort of call none of us like because it didn't require a paramedic unit. But at the time, that's all our company sent. My partner drove us to the emergency department parking lot to park. As we approached the parking spot in mind, we noticed a commotion going on just outside the emergency department entrance. A circle of approximately a dozen medical and security staff formed around a guy. The guy was in a karate-style fighting stance, threatening anyone who approached him. The staff looked flustered and were trying to figure out what to do. It was like a scene out of those old Chinese martial arts movies, the hero surrounded by enemies. We nosed in about a dozen yards away and looked at the paperwork again. I had an idea. I stepped outside the ambulance and called out, "Bob! Hey, Bob, is that you?" The fight-ready guy in the center of the circle jerked his head around looking at me, his eyes dark with excitement. "Who's asking? Who are you?" I answered, "Bob, we're your getaway van. Get in. We got to get out of here." And I went to open the side door. After pausing for just a second, Bob ran to the side of my ambulance and jumped inside. I told him to buckle in quickly so that we could get away. Outside, a group of nurses, techs, and security guards looked completely confused. I located the nurse who had his chart and signed for the patient, taking his paperwork. Getting inside the ambulance, I introduced myself to Bob as his safe house liaison. He was seriously deep undercover, Bourne style, and began telling me about his adventures as we drove away to the behavioral health center about 10 minutes away. Seeing how agitated Bob was, I told him the overhead vents, fire sprinklers, were releasing a slow-acting sleeping gas, and that we would all start to become sleepy very quickly. "You need to fight the gas, Bob. Don't go to sleep on me. We need you to stay alert." Bob yawned in acknowledgement of his warning and managed to stay awake until we got him to his room and the transfer to the safe house was completed.
That's amazing.
That is a great story. And,
that's full on humanity.
It really is. I got to say that. I mean, there's been times where, you have to, transporting a psych patient, their reality is completely different from, this reality. And I think when somebody can get onto their level, because it doesn't happen often where they'll, a psych patient will actually identify with you. But when it does, and you're talking on the level that they're on, I think it's absolutely incredible. And I think this is good for this guy.
Yeah. I mean, we have to, got to be careful, right? Because sometimes people are in a state of delusion, psychosis.
Yeah.
And their world is very real to them.
Yeah.
So do we try to help, like say, no, this is not happening to you. You're in a safe place, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in this case with the transport, they really needed to transport him. So
absolutely. And safely.
So going along with it is
it's kind of your only option.
I'm okay with what he did. In fact, I think it was a really cool way. And he didn't do it in any way that I don't think it amplified it or scared him.
No, I don't think it did.
And
either.
It calmed him down rather than agitate him.
Absolutely.
Like I think it was a calculated risk, and I think it was a really kind of a cool and kind thing to do.
Oh, I absolutely couldn't agree more. Like there's so many people, think when it's a situation like that, like, tackle them down, sedate them. That's,
if you're already thinking you're paranoid and something really bad is happening to you, that's got to be pure terror. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Like, just say I got really pissed off at something.
Yeah.
And someone was like, for whatever reason, the other person was being like really brutal about something or someone, and I just started to like go off.
Right.
And then somehow it turned around like, oh, I'm the crazy one, right?
Yeah.
And then before you know it, I'm like, cuffed and being sent in. I think that would scare the shit out of me, and I would lose my mind. I would probably be like, okay, I didn't mean
more so than doing this. I think.
That's like thinking straight.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Kind of, you know what I mean? I've had patients where we're called them like, I guess they're like observation rooms, like where they're locked in.
Yeah.
There's usually a security guard or a person sitting like the cameras are on them. You see them, you're in there checking on them constantly. And there's security there the whole time.
Yeah.
Too. At least those are the experiences I've had in the hospitals that I've worked in. And I've seen a situation where a patient that was schizophrenic and full out psychosis flip his stretcher and take the mattress and put it, like make a fort.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so you can't see them because they're, they've got this fort and they've got blankets, they got the whole thing. So what do you do? Like, we can't let him stay like that. We don't know what's going on behind there.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's going to open the door and he's going to like
lunge at you.
So, and in this case he did. He was like throwing stuff. He had a urinal. Everything was flying around the place. And it was a situation like that where we had to sedate him.
Right. And
you don't want to give physical or chemical restraints.
No.
We did have to restrain him initially.
Yep.
As soon as he calmed down, the restraints came off.
Of course.
As soon as his medication starts working, that kind of thing. And you know what? Sitting in an emerge in a situation like that is like completely,
sitting in a merge period is hard enough.
And then a tiny little lockdown room, right? Yeah. I mean, could you be in a worse situation?
No.
So, getting them up into an area that's made to help them heal. But, my heart goes out. Like, I kind of want to go in there and, say, like, find a creative way to help calm them down. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to take extreme measures, of course, under all legal to do so, but it's still extreme.
Oh, of course.
So for this guy to do that, like, kudos, man. Good on you. Great thinking. You're
amazing.
Awesome.
He was amazing. There's this other one. It's actually a really cool story. You might actually have some say in this one.
Okay.
It's by Chris Bardis.
Okay, shoot.
So this is Chris Bardis. He's actually a flight paramedic.
Cool. I would have loved to have done that.
Oh, yeah, me too. Sometimes I just see the helicopters land like orange.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh God, what I wouldn't give. And then I saw the inside and was like, nope. Yeah. So tight that, I have to give credit.
There's one hospital that I worked at where the ER and the venting system, because the hospital is quite old,
right?
At least that section.
Yeah.
The venting system went all the way up.
Right.
For whatever was on the roof and all the floors down. So when the helicopters would land, we would smell the fuel.
Right.
So there was like, so now when I smell that fuel, I almost get like excited.
Oh yeah.
Like, because then
something's coming.
Yeah. So you'd be in the trauma room. You've got all the lead on, like you've got your lead aprons on because you've got x-rays flying all over the place.
Of course.
you got your protective gear on and you're like, you've got everything set up and you're just like kind of bouncing on the balls of your feet going, okay, it's coming. And then you smell that fuel and then they come crashing in like, minutes later. And it's like, then it's like insanity.
Oh, it's great.
And as much as that, like, I don't know, I fucking miss that.
Yeah, I miss it too. I know.
And it sounds like it's at the expense of someone having an injury, but someone's got to help them.
Exactly. So why can't it be us?
You know what I'm saying? But so anyway, that's kind of an aside from like what you were saying here.
Oh, this story is hilarious.
Okay.
So he says an elderly woman, I'm guessing 80, but I don't remember. She walks to the bathroom and she's stooping over working with a cane. She comes back and sits in the cot and asks if I can help her out. Now I'm a young, strong type at the time. And the nurse is out with a critical patient. So I think no problem. I ask if it's going to be okay if I grab her under her armpits and say I'm going to pull her up on the bed. And she says, okay. So I reach under her armpits as she's sitting to lift her to pull her up on the bed. I pull and lift and literally every spinal joint she has loudly pops. It sounds like a machine gun has gone off in her spine. And she screams. I'm in a panic thinking, oh my God, I just broke her back. I want to get my voice under control so I can ask her if she's okay. She stops, looks at me, moves her arms around like she's got more motion than she had in years, then sits straighter than she has since she came into the emergency department and says, I am. In fact, I feel a lot better now. That would be when I perform my first ever and hopefully last untrained, unintended chiropractic adjustment. Just
how scary would that?
Scary, but how relieved must that woman have been?
Oh my God. It must have been like for all those knuckle crackers out there. I'm a knuckle cracker.
And it's
like,
I have a friend and he cracks his neck. He'll just literally go crack.
And then he's good.
I don't know how he does it. Sometimes it's like like the triple pop. Oh God, I don't know how he does it.
There's a guy my son told me about. He texted me one day and he's like, I'm obsessed with this chiropractor, watching chiropractor adjustments online on the on YouTube. And this guy, I mean, there's times where he uses like little, like, what do you call those hammers they're not hammers. They've got like rubber.
Oh, mallet.
Yeah. This guy will like use a mallet and like, he's just like almost barbaric the way he does it. And they're like, it's like extreme. Is it chiropractor-y?
I think I've seen this guy.
No, that's for your feet.
I think I've seen this guy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, and he uses these and they're plastic.
Yeah.
And he hits it with a mallet. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh God.
But afterwards, and he works on people that are like extreme athletes and stuff like that, and they swear by it. So there is some satisfaction in listening to that, like crack, 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 pop, pop, pop. But that's scary because some of the elderly make noises in their joints that make you feel like, oh my God, I just ruined them. Yeah. And like everything. Or I remember this one elderly woman, we moved once, and why she sticks out is because her reaction was the best, is that we moved them and she could see the look on her face and she starts laughing out loud and she's like, oh, yeah, that's me. Don't worry.
I'm good.
I guess we all like made that face like, ooh, but anyway. Okay, so what's the next story
okay,
we're gonna move on to?
This one's pretty funny. This is John Morrissey.
Okay.
And he works for Associates Emergency Medical Services and General Education. So we get a call to a location for an unspecified problem, which is always the scariest call. Unspecified is
that right?
Worst. Yeah. So doors
So
open.
you guys can like literally be walking into anything.
Well, I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, we don't get that.
They try and get as much information.
We'll get people fly through the doors, but we're in a controlled environment.
Yeah, which is
and we get them when you already know what's going on.
Yeah,
we get them like prepackaged. Kind of.
These are definitely not prepackaged.
Jesus.
So we get a call to a location for an unspecified problem. Doors open and we walk in. No one in the front room. Hello, ambulance. You called? I'm in the bedroom. So we walk in and there's a shirtless guy in the bed with a blanket over him. What seems to be the issue? Promise you won't laugh? The words we live for. Why no? No, we won't laugh. Okay, here. He pulls back the blankets, and what he's done is severed the power cord and control toggle from an old electronic football game, the type with the vibrating game top and little player figures, and stripped the insulation away from the severed end. Then he had inserted it into his penis and was turning it on and off to stimulate himself.
What?
And now it was stuck.
Why?
Listen, I wish I could tell you. So obviously we can't pull it out. A doc has got to do that. We covered it with sterile dressing after unplugging it from the wall and transported. My partner leaped from behind the wheel, which made me attending and calling this on the radio. I gave vitals and advised that they'd have to wait, see what we were bringing them when we arrived. Naturally, the ER staff knew something. What did he say here? Splendiferous was about to happen. We were greeted at the door by every doc, nurse, tech, NA, and orderly in the ER.
Oh, yeah. We'd be
smiling
waiting.
like Cheshire cats.
Like, oh, fuck, what's coming in?
Yeah, right?
Because if you're not freaking out, you know
it's going to be something good.
Yeah.
Put him in two. We moved him onto the ER bed and stood back. The doc pulled the blanket away, and they all exploded in uncontrollable laughter. And it didn't end there. Security, janitors, other patients, other crews dropping off. They all came running to see, and they all exploded into laughter. It went on for a good 35 minutes with red-faced, unable to breathe, healthcare professionals being very unprofessional. Gotta love it. And that, I feel bad for the guy because as funny as it is, I mean,
a lot of there's people that do stupid ass shit. They go, yeah, I know. And usually those are the ones that you can have the entire hospital come in and check them out.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think though, why would you stick anything electronic anywhere into an orifice?
I have no clue. Especially an orifice like that.
Yeah,
don't mess with your pee-pee.
No, don't mess with anybody's pee-pee.
Number one rule of life.
Yeah, don't mess with anybody's pee-pee.
Don't put things up your pee hole that aren't in a clean, sterile environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's definitely an interesting one there. What else we got?
We got one here. This is by James.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait
a minute. This just made me think of something.
What?
I had a patient come in from a home situation. I want to know if you've ever experienced this.
Okay.
So this man was morbidly obese. This is a really sad story. We're talking, I think he was around 600 pounds. And he had been sitting in his, a couch, but sitting in it. He couldn't lie down. And he'd been sitting in that for upwards to a year and wasn't getting up. He was basically defecating and urinating right in that seat area. People were just showing up to bring him food, or he was ordering it.
Right.
So really no one was caring for him. They were just bringing him stuff. Now, this guy was not a nice guy. Was it because he had a mental health issue? Was it because he was miserable and in pain? I have no idea, but he behaved like a complete jerk when he was in the hospital. I try to have so much empathy for people. Of course. Because no one wakes up one day and says, I want to put myself into such a situation that I'm going to die and I can't care for myself properly.
Absolutely.
So there's a reason for it.
Right.
But anyway, when they lifted, so they had to get fire and stuff like that in to help. When they lifted him off the floor, his belly was stuck into the wood of the floor. So when they lifted him up, it ripped all the bottom part of his belly that had been attached to the floor. They said it sounded almost like Velcro or like a sheet ripping. And yeah, they ripped. And so he now has the whole underside of his belly
gone,
just
hamburger
torn.
Meat.
Yeah. So already, because of his condition, he was already full of yeast and fungal and you name it, because he's been sitting there, wicked skin breakdown, an ulcer or two, and now his whole underbelly is torn right off.
I can't even imagine that pain.
So have you ever experienced anyone being really large and you've had a difficulty? And this is stuff that's hard to talk about because you want to say like, what the fuck have you done to yourself? Right. But then again, like, it's like any addiction. It's a food addiction, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But in the hospital, he was just like, fucking move me, do this, do that. And he would just like, get me this, get me that, do this, do that. And just like scream and be abusive. And so it's really hard to be kind and compassionate. And I'll tell you, any one of us there may not have like understood the situation, but showed absolute kindness towards this man.
Of course. And I think that's why I think it's very important to...
Like, he knew what he was saying and doing. This was not somebody that was, again, psychotic and thinking he was seeing things or she was seeing things. This guy knew what he was saying.
And I think what I was going to say is I think that, it's important after a call like that to vent to your coworkers, because everything you want to say in the moment, you can't. It's not professional. It's
we had to take turns seeing him. So even though he was assigned to one like area, to one nurse, we went in, one at a time. Not one. So we went in pairs, but we shared it. It was sort of like he called this person going, because otherwise, like, you can't kick him out.
No, what are you
can't escort him out.
No,
he's special needs, and it's like, what do we do?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Anyway. I think that's where, a lot of compassion, I think in any, industry, you have to have, I think, a specific kind of personality. And I think, in healthcare, I think you need to have the humor. You have to have number one, I think you definitely have to have compassion, 110%. That's number one. And then I think what would follow that would be you have to have humor.
Humor, compassion, and the ability to...
Empathy,
yeah. And the ability to sort of put up like some kind of barrier that helps deflect this stuff.
Yeah.
But as soon as it gets abusive, like really abusive...
Then that's when...
And they're scaring patients and all that kind of stuff. It's when you have to really like set the boundaries. But I think we have generally a very a large amount that we can take.
Yeah.
I mean, there was another gentleman that had come in before, and he was also a very large man, and he had cellulitis in his testicles. Now, God. Now, I swear to you, I'm not lying. You can look me in the eye and you know when I'm like goofing or not. This guy had small watermelon sized on both sides. I've never seen anything so big in my life. And they were red and weeping.
Angry.
It smelled so bad. But his wife was there. And he would make her hold his balls up for him.
Not a fucking chance.
He'd like, get over here. Fucking lift up this one. Fucking lift up that one. Excuse my language, guys. And she'd be like in tears, holding his balls up, back, like bent over with her back, killing her. And he would just scream at her to hold his balls up for him. No. And we'd come in and be like, no. You're not going to talk to her like this. We can help you. We can get towels. We can get ice packs or something that, would be safe for him to use.
Right.
Like we can, we're giving you antibiotics. We're doing all these different things. And he was just abusive and rude, and he was bossing her around, screaming at her. And you can see that she was like, such a beaten up woman. And we just finally said, look, do you want to go home? Like, do you want to go home and go to bed and sleep and relax?
That's heartbreaking.
And she just broke down with us and just said, I don't know how much more of this I can take. So she went, and
good for her.
And and he was just like, where do you think you're going? And blah, blah, blah. And it was just, and he would take like any gown, like he couldn't really fit into a gown. So we gave him sheets, or we'd put 2 gowns. Like we do everything we can.
Right.
He would strip off and just sit there naked in the chair, like intentionally to get attention, or to like, to piss people off. And it's like, how do you deal with these behaviors? Because they're juvenile. I mean, they're toddler.
Yeah. And so sometimes you just, honestly, you have to shut it off. You just have to shut yourself off and kind of be a little bit of a robot when it comes to stuff like that, only because you're either going to flip your shit, which is a definite possibility.
Yeah. And it's a possibility, but not an option.
No. And it's not an option unless you want to lose your job. That's cool too.
Yeah,
but, it gets to a point where sometimes I think for a lot of people, it's just too much. I think, like I know some people where, they were paramedics for years and years, and, it got to a point for them where they were just like, I've lost the I've lost the compassion.
Yeah.
I no longer think, I can't laugh at this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Because I want to tell them exactly where to go and how to do it. And, and you can't, you get to a point where you're just like, you know what, I got to stop. And I think,
how much can people take, really?
Well,
right?
exactly. And you can only talk about things so much with people, and it gets to a point where, I think a lot of, talking about PTSD and anxiety and depression and stuff like that, I think a lot of healthcare workers fully understand this kind of thing. And I wish they almost would. I'm not going to speak for everybody. I'm going to speak for myself, where I think they need to understand it more, because, they experience this every day. You have people coming in there, they're dealing with, mental health in the ER. I'm sure mental health was a huge thing. And, there's still to this day, that some of these people in there, nurses, doctors, RPNs, PSWs, they're dealing with it as well, but it's almost still such a stigma. And I think
okay. So every once in a while, one of us becomes the patient.
Yeah.
Has the breakdown.
Yeah.
And I got to say, for one, and experience everyone, the compassion that is shown towards that coworker who finally just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And it could be that maybe they had too much to drink that night and it was just like, kind of lost it a little bit.
A rough night.
I've dealt with somebody who attempted suicide.
I'm sorry.
A coworker that I really, really just loved. But no, because I don't work with them anymore.
No,
but they went.
Now you work with me.
Yeah. They went through it. And you know what? They were put in an area. So didn't have to deal. We will put you in an area where you can just not have to worry about, because you don't want to see anyone.
No, of course.
Okay, well, I'm that one that broke down. I'm the one that this and that. I don't want anybody to know my problems. And so you get that. You get,
you don't want people to talk about you.
Yeah. But you get the best of what we have to give. And then beyond that, this one particular person is such a badass. They're better than I've ever seen. The most compassionate, caring, advocate for mental health in general, but mostly for the 911 community. She's absolutely an amazing human being. And I saw her at her absolute worst, probably not even.
Yeah.
And then a year later, it's back working strong and like a fuck you. You didn't, you know what? You got something to say it. But not a chip on her shoulder. It's just like, whatever.
Yep.
And it's just like, I'm like, you are an incredible human being to go through that. So, there's no shame in it.
There is no shame in it. And I wish
and
more
guarantee
people...
you your coworkers are going to love you.
Yep.
They're going to support you and they're going to do exactly that. Let's get you in a room away from everybody else.
Yep.
Let's get you a doctor in here as fast as we can. And we're going to fast track you and do our best for you. And you're going to get loved all night.
Do you ever
want the best sandwich in the fridge? You got it.
You got it.
You want the coldest fucking apple juice? You've got it. The warmest blankets and the fluffiest pillows? You got it all.
Yep. Don't you find too, sometimes now when I go, if I've had to go to the hospital, I never say to them right away, I was a paramedic or anything.
Yeah, neither.
I want to see what the treatment's like, And
I also don't want to be that person where they feel like they're guarded.
Right.
In whatever, or that I'm going to act like I know it all. Well, I don't want to say that. I want to say to them, you can plain speak to me. You don't have to plain speak to me. Just tell me.
Well, sometimes I think though, it comes up. So, the last time I was there, they said something and I said, "Oh, are you sure? 'Cause it's blah, 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 blah." This was a nurse telling me.
Yeah.
And she's like, "How do you know about that?" And I said, "Oh, I was a paramedic."
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "Oh."
Well, it's almost a relief because then now you can just straight talk, or you can just talk normally. I generally don't say anything. And oftentimes it's because I have an understanding of what they're saying. They say, "Oh, okay.
Oh, I get it."
But then there's that click into oh, okay, we're fam.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've cared with elderly nurses and they'll be
those are the best.
And I just want to give them everything they want. And they're usually got that, that that
Do a voice, Karen.
a voice. Well, I mean, I had my Aunt Vera, and she was like, "Oh, for God damn it, for Christ's sakes, you know,
Give me the damn needle. I'll give myself my own IV.
You know, or you say, okay, I'll get you up to the commode. You know what? Not, as long as I got 2 fucking legs, I can make it to the bathroom myself. God damn it, and I'll call you if I need you.
And meanwhile, you know, here's
it's not like
the thing.
I haven't pissed all over myself before. And do you think I care at this age?
No. It's nurses, healthcare workers make the worst patients. And that's the actual quote that I've heard so many times is nurses make the worst patients.
That's what I've heard too, but I get that from Mary. Remember, there was a couple of years ago, I was having like really bad belly pain. And
you just had to poop?
No, well, I had this belly pain, and over a 2.5 month period, I lost almost 40 pounds. And I just couldn't eat. I felt so sick. Mary kept on going, go to the hospital. I'm like, no. Because
I'm fine.
Well, I've had problems with my stomach in the past.
Yeah.
But this was getting really bad. Like, it was bad.
Right.
And then, you know, she kept saying,
go to the hospital, Karen.
Exactly.
Let's go to the hospital.
So finally, I called her at work, which is like,
unheard of.
I just don't do it. I'm not going to interrupt her. But I called her at work and I said, I think I need you to come home right now. And she's like, and because she worries so much, I just see her flying to me and like do a damn accident, just trying to get to me. Anyway, long story short, I had a bowel obstruction.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so that's why.
I mean, let's just leave it for a little while and let it get worse. I mean,
well, but I didn't know because I've had.
Were you throwing up?
Well, when I went in, okay, this is kind of a funny story. We're talking about waiting room stuff and how people are in. Okay. So by then I was so sick and I couldn't move. Like I was literally bent over.
Probably dehydrated. Probably.
I was so sick, Erica. I was circling the drain. Like I was getting, it was bad.
Yeah.
And, so the ambulance shows up and I'm like, I can't stop throwing up. Nothing is helping me.
No.
And I can't stop going to the bathroom. It's just like, but I'm not really going. It just feels like it, right?
Like you have to go.
Yeah. And so I'm like retching, and the abdominal pain is so bad. Like it's unbelievable. So they get me to the hospital, and like in my head, I'm like, I bet you I have a bowel obstruction.
Yeah.
And when I felt around my belly, I was just like, I feel so bad. And so they're like, there's not a room. This one particular hospital is one of like, no one ever go there. I don't want to say the name of it, but it's starts with E, ends with E, and it's by where I live.
Got it. I just had to mouth it to Karen.
And so I went in and on the ambulance, and they're like, well, there's no room for you. And if I had a patient come in with the acute pain of vomiting, by now it's like green.
And I'm almost positive your vitals were not good.
Oh, they weren't, right? And so they're like, there's no bed for you. I'm like, I'm dying here. Like I really am.
Yeah,
and
there's something wrong.
Yeah, and I can't sit up. I can't do anything because it's just so bad. And they said, here's a wheelchair. Just sit in the wheelchair. We'll bring you in when we can. And so I said, look, if you don't give me a place to lie down, I will lie down on the floor. Like I'm in that much pain.
Right.
And no, you can't lie on the floor. I'm like, all right. Anyway, so I'm vomiting and retching. I can't stop. It's horrible. So there's this room that has all those lounger chairs that fold out.
Yep.
So there beside it on one side, it had about, I think like 10 regular seats that family could sit in, or someone that's more ambulatory. And then it had the lounger seats that sometimes they'll start antibiotics and have someone sit there, right? Well, everything was full. Everything was full. Mary goes in and says, look, my partner is really sick and needs to lie down. Is there anyone that'd be willing to give up the chair? And, you know, kind of looking around, she wheels me in and I am nonstop. Like I'm embarrassed how like violent it is coming out of me, right? The room cleared.
Bye.
I'm not lying to you. Every single person left. So now there's like 5 of these loungers, all free.
Amazing.
And then all other. So when she brought me in, people like popped out of those chairs like there was nothing. Now there was one lady that said, like, help me. Like basically the two of them threw me and I launched myself out of the the wheelchair because I had to lie down and pull my knees up. Like it was just like so bad. I had to lie on my side. So she helped. And the wheelchair went flying across the room. And now I'm like, like it's so violent and bad. Yeah, it was just funny because I just remember people like they couldn't get out of there fast enough.
And you had to have surgery?
No, I didn't. No, they helped clear it up.
You're very lucky.
No, I was so lucky because it cleared up, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life.
I worked the hospital that she's talking about.
Wait. Yeah. And you know what? I was hours before I was being seen.
Yep.
I know I was dying. I'm not lying to you. I know it. I was like cold, clammy sweat.
Yep.
I was coming in and out of consciousness. Mary was freaking out. I was coming in and out of consciousness, and they're like, you can't, she's like, you can't stay in here. I'm like, look, I don't think you're getting how sick I am. Put me in a wheelchair. They draw my blood. They finally give me like morphine for the pain and some gravel for the vomiting. And all I really gave a shit about is like to stop this goddamn vomiting. And I don't know if she thought I was a drug seeker or anything. I'm not taking any like painkillers or anything. So like, what the fuck? When the blood test got back and the CT scan came back, you couldn't get doctors in my like to see me fast enough. And I'm sequestered in the corner over there. She's being a complete bitch. And they're like, they couldn't get me in fast enough.
You know what pisses me off?
I was admitted for a long goddamn time.
Yeah.
I was in metabolic acidosis. Like I was as sick as like very, very sick. And yeah, all of a sudden everybody's like right there. And I'm like,
it pisses you off. This hospital that Karen's talking about, I did transport to this hospital with this company I worked for a lot. Mm-hmm. And we used to say to ourselves, I really want to say it, like, I don't want to say what hospital it was.
Okay.
But we had a nickname for it, and I'll tell you after.
Okay.
Because it's a joke. It was a joke there.
If someone had come in, I wasn't looking for special treatment. I just knew myself. Yep. Like, it was probably the only time in my life that I knew I was in big trouble, that I had waited too long to go in.
Yep.
I thought it would pass. And if you had come into I had come into my emergency room, you would have been in the acute care
stat. Like
we would have had you we would have had you like in CT, like it would have been like fast.
Yep.
Rush on the blood work, all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't have been a doubt. It just had to look at the color of the person. Like, my lips were going blue.
Yeah.
My sats were in the boots. Like it was just like, anyway. That's I hope you guys don't mind my long, sad story, but it was, I guess, I'm showing the opposite of like what good, compassionate care towards people is. And I've experienced it. That makes me better.
Of course.
You know?
No, absolutely. And I agree. It's tough. And I think too, you know, I dread going to the hospital. I'm not a fan.
Me too.
And you go to the doctors and they're like, I think you should go to the hospital. And I'm like, really? Like, isn't there something we can do here? Like, I don't know. I think you should go. Like, my suggestion is you go. Oh, so I don't have to go.
Yeah, it's also
what you're saying.
Cover your ass CYA situation.
Yeah, exactly. Too. So I think these stories, I think we should kind of make it a little bit of a, for the next couple episodes, because I was reading ahead. There's some people like the UK, they're having some troubles these days. You know, there's a lot of stories about ambulances not being able to get to these calls fast enough because they're just so backlogged. And I think it's something we should talk about. There's a few stories here. One lady, she had broken her leg outside, and she was on the sidewalk. And it took them 4 hours to get there, and she passed away.
No.
She did. So obviously she had more than just a broken leg, but 4 hours.
But also too, she could have had a fat embolism, like a different, you know, a clot.
Absolutely.
I know any of those things could have happened in that time. Those where you think most breaks you can fix, and then, you know, it heals and you walk away. But who knows?
It was not the case. So I think too, I want to shed some light on that, because you know, I love the UK, and I think that we should really, we should talk about it. I mean, somebody's got to have a solution to this. There's got to be.
The UK has one of the best healthcare systems in the world.
They really do.
And it's not from lack of ambulances want to get there. You know what? This is where we need to do a coming in hot, because talk about the prank phone calls.
Yeah, the prank phone calls, that is definitely going to be one, because they've also been getting a lot of prank phone calls, people calling 911, or I don't know if it's 911 there. I think it's 999.
I think it's 999, yeah.
And they'll call and they'll say it's something really bad. And they'll send, a few different, they have also different, like they have doctors that ride in some of these ambulances.
Uh-huh.
So they'll send a bunch of people who they think, they're going to need for this call. And they'll get there and it'll be like, the location will be like a phone booth. And they'll call back and say like, listen, there's nobody at this location. And it'll end up being a prank. And that's...
I would love to find them and then make them have to have an ambulance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can ride on the goddamn roof.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's disgusting. I think, the abuse of resources is appalling.
How is that funny?
It's not funny to me, you or I. It's not funny at all. But to some,
whatever happened to
teenager
saying like calling up and doing like a Bart Simpson to Mo,
yeah,
like one of those like stupid
something
ones,
innocent where it's not going to affect somebody
so
greatly. Absolutely, but something like this, like you've just taken away how many resources for some prank that you guys want to do when somebody is actually having a heart attack or or has a 4-hour wait for a broken leg and dies on scene. So I think we're gonna maybe talk about this.
Let's end that here.
Yeah. You know what's weird? I just gotta say this another thing. They call their hospitals A&E.
Yeah, it's how do I not know? And something in
emergency?
Yeah. Accident and emergency.
See, I think that's so cool.
I think it's way cooler than ours.
If so, we have a lot of UK people.
Because it actually spells it out. Accident and emergency. Because not all accidents are like the emergency.
Right, yeah.
I think of that as like the emergency is the trauma and the accident is like, oops, I
did it again.
I hit my head in the con of my desk and need a suture. Not even really.
I think that's where we should end it, Karen.
I need to ask for my boo-boo.
We're gonna read some great stories next time.
Okay, sounds
Karen's,
awesome.
And we're not high.
No, not high.
I had to throw it in there, Karen.
Yes, that's right. Thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Okay,
I got you.
So everybody, have a wonderful, fabulous, amazing day, week, year. To all you 911ers out there, we love you.
We respect you so much.
You're never alone.
Never.
Always reach out.
Yeah.
And to anybody that's suffering from mental health issues or going through a rough time, reach out, get help. It is out there.
It is.
And you got this. So, okay.
All right.
Thank you to all the listeners.
Thank you so much, guys.
Take care of yourself. Take care of one another. Peace. One love.